Hi, welcome to another episode of Saturday Architecture. We have Deepak, who's an architect with Microsoft with decades of experience. It's been 2 years since Gen AI has close to 2 years actually. There is the hype, and I think the hype is flattening out now. One of the things which is happening for whatever reason is that when we go to the business or even the technology solutions wanting to go to the business, the thing that is said is that using Gen AI solutions is too risky for me, and it's too expensive. And especially if I can't be assured of what I'm going to get, it is even more expensive. Okay, already IT was expensive. Now you want me to spend something where you say that you will take me to a promised land, but then you put a caveat, oh, maybe you might not reach there also. Okay, so you want more money, right, to say that I might or might not reach. So it's becoming more like a, like, previously something was like a fixed deposit kind of a investment and return. You are kind of pushing me towards the stock market where you promising high risk high reward kind of a thing. Now as a business, I'm not in a mood to do that. If you look at it, it's like the stock market and mutual fund advertisements which say you will make so much money over a period of time, 200% return, 300%. Oh, by the way, in small notes, it's subject to market risk conditions. You might not even make money. So this is the kind of thing which is actually holding a lot of things from taking flight or mainstream. From a POC perspective, pilot perspective, demo perspective, Gen AI discussions, all that perspective, it's all good. But finally, when it comes to let's move it down to production, let us make it interact with the business. Let us get it from the backstage onto the main stage. Let it move from rehearsal to main. There is not much of a traction there. And this is the basic thing that comes up. Okay. So, as a business user, Deepak, why should I pay for something which I can't rely on?
Yes. I think this is a one is that you already mentioned that the hype is flattening out, where we are no longer seeing any issues coming in from new kind of things which are being shown to users, right? So right now it's like been there, done that kind of a situation where people are saying, yeah, Gen AI, big deal, right? So that's the situation we are in. But I think we are now in a state where all the products have to start delivering value, right? Value which is directly usable by the users, where it is no longer and it remember we
Where the
used to
value
discuss
is perceivable by the user, can we say?
directly felt by the user, right? And I think also there needs to be a concerted effort. It's not something very intuitive to use in certain contexts. It's not for example, if you were to say I want to use Copilot in Excel, that's a Gen AI use case. Now it isn't always very intuitive for people to understand how to use it until, because remember we used to talk about robotic process automation and citizen developer and all these things. Says, is this something like that? Because you're trying to use a tool which to increase your productivity. It is not a tool which is actually going to automate a process for you. Because a lot of the time when people get introduced to AI, what they think of generative AI is that this will come and do some task for you, just explain the process and it will sort of stitch everything together. It does not happen that way. It is still in a context, it is still within the boundaries of an application. It can, at least within, from the Microsoft perspective, what we have seen is you can still stitch together within M365, you can bring things together and do those things. But it still does not replace the human being in the whole scenario. So that's so one is people not getting the support to understand how it actually will make them productive. right? So that's a big risk for businesses to be investing in something in a Gen AI tool, and users not getting the support to get the benefit out of that technology. So that's and some other technology usage is actually expensive. It has to go to the cloud and be brought back.
So,
There is net.
so let's just zoom in on what you just said.
Yeah,
Let's just take Excel itself is a good thing, right?
yeah,
Now, let's say I'm the CIO, right, of our. I have my finance department and I have my operations department, all
yeah.
of them extensive Excel users. I can't go and tell them use a co-pilot. It might work, it might not work. You figure out where it might work or it might not work. And if
Yes.
it doesn't work, then you do it the way that you are doing it. If it works, be happy with it. It's too cognitively taxing for those users, right? I cannot have this conversation with my end users. What do I do?
No, so this is where this is a typical adoption story. We've always spoken about how do you basically the same rules of adoption of technology apply to Gen AI as well. But
There's just
specifically,
one key difference between a classical adoption and a Gen AI adoption, Deepak. Okay, it's just that to get
yes,
that nuance there. Okay, in classical adoption, I am telling them for this case, this will work. Now it is
yes,
convincing them that it is useful and making it easy for them. Here, I'm going in by telling this
no,
might work or might not work.
no. So there is, in fact, that's where why I related it back to the classical adoption, because you still have to bring those use cases back to it, right? So there have to be some scenarios which always work, and that is true for Copilot for Excel. There are some scenarios which will always work. In fact, there is I think a product in preview called Copilot for Finance, which actually does something specific on related to finance, on how do you uh, manage the cash flows and things like that. So they have done some scenarios which are specific to finance. So and they always work, right? That, so you still have to do those activities where you will go in and actually make the use case for those users, and then you let the creativity happen after that. So you, because unless they have a use case for the technology, specifically in this case Gen AI technology, you still would have to work out those things.
I'm hearing you right. What you're
Yeah,
telling is as I have to, as a CIO, I have to go and figure out use cases, let's say 20, 30 of them. And I would say 30 of them are 100% reliable. The rest 30 are like 50, 60% reliable. The rest is like an inspiration kind of a thing. It's not really that. Do I have to do this classification and then do it?
no, no,
Is that what
no,
you're telling?
no, no. So in most cases those scenarios will work, right? So those scenarios, the
I cannot
way,
tell that to the end user. I cannot say in most cases. I can
no, no,
they will
no,
say,
no,
will
those
it work
scenarios
or
will
will
work.
it won't it work?
Those scenarios will work. For example, for example, there's a broad category of things which Copilot does. For example, it will help you do better collaboration. So, and those collaboration scenarios are common. So, if you, for example, within Teams, you can say, was there a message in the last 24 hours which I did not respond to? Right now, this is a search kind of a thing, but which you cannot do in a normal search. You
Got
now
it. Yeah.
using the context of generative AI, you are able to find a task using the tool and making it better. Right? Say you can say things like, "Give me the list of actions on me based on all the meetings I had in the last 24 hours or 1 week," and give it to me in the form of a table. Now that is a scenario which works.
When you say works, is it 100%?
It's 100%. It 100% works.
Taking that
Yeah,
same thing, if I
yeah.
kind of ask a question like, hey, did anybody have a problem with delivery in the past 1 week? Now that question will become a less accurate thing. Can I actually tell the user, if it says no, you take a vacation and go, there has been no vacation in the past 2 weeks? Can I tell that? That is my test. Team said there has been no escalation in the past 2 weeks, so there is no escalation in my company. Would I be able to do that?
So see, some content you can you see that again. It all depends on the kind of prompts we are writing. Right? So if we can make that prompt specific, that's where in the adoption what we are talking about is making people understand the limitations of the technology as well. So that how do you ask the right question so that it responds in the right way, right? And people will intuitively understand
this. So you have one use case you can use without any training. Just throw it, they use it, it'll work.
Yeah.
Then there's a bunch of other use cases for which you have to equip the user with some skills so that you can get it to a predictable thing. So that kind of is like learning them, equipping them, kind of a thing.
So all those things are required.
So if I have to summarize what you're telling, right, I think get those use cases which is 100% predictable off the bat. And then there are other use cases where you have to do some user enablement. Without that, it will be like, let's say 60-70%. But with user enablement and building awareness, you can actually get it to 100%. These are the two ways in which we can...
In some ways, you can consider it like you're learning to drive a car, right? It's a car with the newer technologies. So now all these cars come with all kinds of bells and whistles, and you have to actually learn how to drive the car. Now, you already know how to drive a car, but all the bells and whistles, like how does the cornering camera work? How does the reverse camera work? How does the 360-degree camera? All those, how do the sensors now work? There's some automatic wipers, how they will get triggered, right? So that is what is the kind of, means you already are using that application. For example, Teams has been around so long. Now you have this Copilot sitting inside Teams, which can make it better. It is like that additional bit of technology which is making Teams better or making you productive. Right? So that is what is it is enabling, and some of it can be straight away, like you said, intuitive, and people can just use it, and some of it may require some kind of things. But there's one, actually a feature, I believe it's in preview or it's release, I don't remember now, but that there is, you can schedule a prompt that every day at 9 a.m. when I start my office day, give me the list of tasks which I have and summarize if somebody has done this thing. You will search the email and do everything and give you what you need to do today, which is enhancing productivity. And you can make it into a scheduled prompt.
So it's like creating a mini agent for myself in the AI.
Exactly.
The agent will come alive at some point, do something and give me an output and go like that.
Exactly. Means you can interact with it real time, or you can say schedule it every day, do this thing. But there is still some amount of learning which is required for people to actually be productive using that technology. So again, the learning curve isn't as steep as what we used to say for things like citizen developer and all those things, but it still has, at least, for example, if you want to use Word effectively.
Probably we have to go to the age-old lesson of how to use Excel or email or a meeting, scheduling a meeting, for example, giving an invite, scheduling it and things like that, right? I think a meeting scheduler is great, but if the company doesn't have a culture of sending out meetings, what is the use of a meeting invite, right? With automatic teams inside there. Got it. That's good. Just to make sure I got it right. Too risky and too costly is if I just leave it open-ended. But in order to remove that, I have to kind of clearly, as a CIO or a CTO, I should identify specific scenarios where it is 100% predictable, and there might be cases where it is 60-70% predictable. In those cases, I have to do some kind of a user enablement or a training or an awareness to get it 100%. And then these two scenarios is what I can really roll out, which I can build a confidence with the end users. Would I be right if I summarize it this way?
I think that's a good summary.
Okay. Thanks, Deepak. Thanks for joining. We'll catch you all next